Now I want to share with you something which is my own personal high drama that I experienced in Venice the last time I was there. I was traveling at the end of the year, it was December, January, with my partner Nikki, and I'd planned a really romantic, wonderful trip. The itinerary was a classic one. It was an epic trip, and it feels like it was yesterday. We flew into the Czech Republic to Prague, and it was freezing. There was snow everywhere. We had to carry winter coats and the whole thing. And it was just before Christmas, I think it was. And then after Prague, where I got a terrible, terrible cold, my head was all stuffy, my eyes were watery, I had a congested chest, my nose is running, I could hardly hear out of my ears. So I wasn't at my dazzling best. And as well as that, my darling Nikki, partner, she packed for everything. So when we were traveling from one place to the next, there was me not only carrying my own bags, but I was carrying her bags as well. From Prague, we took a train to Vienna, where we saw all the winter night markets, and it was so romantic, so magical. Seeing Europe in winter is really kind of very special. We were then going to go to Venice, and I'd booked an overnight sleeper. So we did the train thing, which is really cool, and then arrived in Venice the next day. And this is where my personal adventure starts, which I hope you find amusing. Now, I was a little bit younger then, it must have been like 15 years ago. And as I have all my life, I was training in martial arts. I'd been doing Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I always fancied myself as somebody that, you wouldn't want to mess with in any circumstances. But what I learned on this trip, when you're traveling with a partner, it makes things a little bit more complicated. But that's the funny thing about traveling, is you never know what's going to happen. Because you're outside of your comfort zones, your normal kind of protection zones and everything like that, you expose yourself to new experiences. And that's one of the key things that a lot of criminals and opportunists take advantage of, or try to take advantage of, when there's a lot of travelers and tourists. So Venice, you would imagine, that time of year, was incredible. We get out of the train station after crossing the lagoon, and there's me, runny nose, can't hear very well, this terrible head cold I've got, carrying my bags, carrying Nikki's bags, wearing an overcoat, 3 layers of clothing. So coming out of the train, first thing you do, back then anyway, you went to the cambio, which is the change counter, and exchanged some currency. And then we wandered off to catch the Vaporetto, which is the big water taxi that ferries people from the train station down through the main canal into where we were staying. And we had booked a magnificent old hotel, the Metropole, a wonderful hotel. So anyway, we get on the Vaporetto and it's crowded. It's like, a Melbourne tram, but it's full of people. And Nikki and I there, all the bags and everything, and the Vaporetto takes off, chug, 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 chug. And it's pretty full. So straight out of nowhere, something really weird happens. And I get smacked in the back, like somebody fully runs at me and bumps me, like almost knocking me over. So immediately I thought, oh no, here we go, action time. So I swing around ready to see whoever was attacking me, because it was a really solid bump. It wasn't somebody just, stumbling into me. Whoever hit me really hard intentionally. So I swing around, I've got one bag around my neck, which has got my wallet and passport and all of those valuables in it, and all the other bags are on the ground. But when I turn around, there's no one there, which is so bizarre, because I was just almost king hit by somebody, shirt fronted, like in a football game or something. And then they vanished. So I turned around really quickly and I was scanning the Vaporetto. I couldn't see anyone. I don't even think people were looking at me, so that it wasn't a very obvious kind of thing. The Vaporetto ride into the Metropole on the Grand Canal was only like 15 minutes, so I forgot about that and tried to ease my heart rate down. But it was really bizarre, because 1 second there I thought I was under threat of death. Somebody or some unseen assailants were attacking me. And there I was all alone with my girlfriend, worrying about her. So anyway, the heart rate went down. We got to the station where you get off the Vaporetto. Got all the bags, trundled into the Metropole Hotel, which again is a beautiful, beautiful classic Venetian luxury hotel. And Nikki and I arrive at the front reception area, the concierge station, and I announce, hey, it's, Paul Roberts and partner checking in. And, they kindly welcome me, Mr. Roberts, it's great to see you, how are you? Do you have your passport and documents? So immediately I go, of course I do. So I lean down to my bag, which is around my neck, and I see the zipper has been opened. And I went, hello, this is really strange, because there's no way that I would have been walking around, a new city, just arriving with the zipper on my precious contents open for anyone to help themselves with. So I dig into the pocket, and my passport wallet, my money, my credit cards, my documents, everything is gone. And Nikki's looking at me in disbelief, and I'm looking at the concierge. And I just said, somebody's stolen my passport, my documents, my money, my credit cards, everything. To which the concierge was really great, and he said, Senor, don't worry about it. We can work that out. You can get a replacement credit card, American Express. The passports can be replaced. Your booking is fine. We know that, there's no problem with that. Just go to your room, try and relax and put it out of your mind. And I was sitting there and I was furious because, here is me who's traveled all around the world so many times. And one thing, ever since living in New York when it was really dangerous, I always prided myself on I would be the last person alive to ever be mugged. And here I am, I've been mugged and I don't even know who did it. I didn't even see. So I closed my eyes, played it back in my head, and miraculously, the pictures started to come back. And I remember seeing somebody going past me very quickly, like a male figure, as I was turning around. And then when I turned back again, I could see people moving away in the distance, which I didn't remember seeing at the time. I think it was Christmas Eve, actually, we arrived there. So we checked into the hotel, had a bath or whatever it was, and had an early night's sleep. And in the morning, Nikki and I decided what we would do is try and retrace the steps that we went on the way in, just to see if it had fallen out naturally and fallen on the ground, or somebody had handed it in. So we walked back out to the main Grand Canal, got the Vaporetto back, got off at the station, then retraced the steps back to the Cambio and where we came off the train to see and there was nothing. There was nothing on the ground. We looked in some of the bins, there was nothing there. We went to the Carabinieri police station, the tourist police, and reported what had happened. And I said to them that I think I was mugged. I think somebody had done this on the Vaporetto. And the cops were saying, Venice is a pretty safe place, but we do have trouble here from time to time. I remember him saying a few bad apples can spoil everyone's fun. And he said, but we can't do anything because you can't remember what happened, you don't have any names, you don't know who they were or where they were from. So I don't know what if we find it, we'll get in touch with you, but there's not much we can do. And I said, yeah, that's fair enough. So anyway, Nikki and I walked out of the Carabinieri station, back out to where the Vaporetto station was. And across from the Vaporetto station, there was a big piazza or square. And in the piazza, there was a whole lot of people and there was a whole commotion going on. So I looked over there and there were all these young guys. There was probably about 15 or 16 of them. And they're all wearing these brightly colored cappello or cappelli, these hats. And they were probably Christmas hats because I think it was Christmas Day that morning. And I looked over, and in the middle of this group or gathering of guys who were whooping and hollering and singing songs and fooling around, I saw the guy in the center of it. And even at, say, 300 meters, his face registered to me. And I said to Nikki, that's the guy who took my wallet. And she looked at me and said, Paul, what are you talking about? You didn't even see him. I said, Nikki, I got a feeling. So without any further words being spoken, I headed a beeline for this guy. Nikki reluctantly following on behind me. I pushed my way through these guys. And the guy that I'd clocked as the face turns around to me, looks me straight in the eye. I said to him, "You stole my wallet, didn't you?" And he looks back at me, unbelievably, and says, "What are you going to do about it?" To which steam was coming out my ears. And then all these friends are swarming around, you know, and all of a sudden there wasn't just one person I was in a confrontation with, it was a dozen of them. So Nikki, obviously being the sensible one of the two of us, comes up and grabs me by the arm and says, Paul, don't do anything stupid. There's too many, you know, you're being crazy. So she drags me away. So she managed to convince me to go back to the Hotel Metropole where we went there. So the next day, after a beautiful breakfast, and we decided we'd go out and have lunch and have a bit of a walk around the canals and everything. So there's Nikki and I on this romantic, almost like a honeymoon-esque kind of trip. We're walking around the little windy streets where all the shops are in the main part of Venice, and I hear these voices again. So there's me and Nikki and these voices in this tiny little windy little alleyway where all the shops were. I see these guys again. And all of a sudden, they're all around us again. And this time, the taunting is increasing. So immediately I decide, I grab Nikki, because I had no idea what was going to happen, but I was fearing the worst. So I opened a door to this jewelry shop and put her inside, and I said, "Nikki, don't come out, all right? Whatever happens, don't come out. If you need to, call the Carabinieri or the hotel, but don't come out." Because all of a sudden there I was, if I was going to get in a confrontation, I didn't have any problem with that. I was actually quite looking forward to it. So just before anything really happened, and it was really close, I couldn't believe this was escalating again. This is like my worst nightmare. It was like something out of a Liam Neeson movie. All of a sudden here I am in this exotic romantic destination, and I'm in this life and death situation with these street gang of who knows where they were from, who were obviously criminals and weren't anyway, you know, inhibited about what they did and who they are and what they were doing, and, you know, who knows what else they had going for them, guns, knives, whatever. But we escaped that situation, and again, I managed to keep my cool enough to get Nikki out and back to the hotel again. And I remember that night, I'd lost it. I put Nikki to bed. And that night, I was calling the concierge saying, "I need to get a broom, and I've got a wooden thing that I need a little saw." So here's me thinking I am Liam Neeson. And in my head, the idea I had, I was going to get a broomstick, saw off, you know, the broom handle at the bottom, cut it in half, and have these two sticks that I could put down the back of my jeans. And I was going to go out and hunt these guys in the streets. That was my plan. I think back now, God knows what would have happened if I'd gone out and found them. Nikki sees me doing this, and she comes out and she's furious. And she makes me promise. She said, "Paul, if you don't let this go, this incident is going to ruin our entire holiday." And I said, "You're right. I'm being selfish. I'm being stupid, I'm being impulsive." And she knew what I was feeling. So I promised her that I would let it go and we would just ignore these guys for the rest of the holiday. So a week went past and we ended up having a great time and didn't manage to see these thugs again. So everything was cool. You know, no damage. I just lost a passport and my wallet and some money, but nothing major. So we're going back to pick up our train to go back to Milan, I think it was. So we go out on the way, get off the Vaporetto at the train station stop, walk through the main, entry area where there's all these seats and everything outside the main train station where people wait for their trains. And we walk around the side, find the platform, find the train. I pick up all the bags, we find our cabin. I put Nikki in there, put the bags up top, And we have about an hour and 15 minutes to wait before the train departs. So at that point, I said to Nikki, wait here, I'll be back. Don't leave, just stay here. To which she said, Paul, what are you doing? Knowing full well what she was dealing with. So what happened? Unbeknownst to Nikki, she was totally unaware of this. As we were walking through the train station, I spot these guys. And they're in their operations mode. And there's 3 or 4 of them sitting where the seats are. I see the main guy, and he's reading a newspaper, pretending that, so they're staking out new people to mug. And I look over where the Cambio is, and there's another one of them. It's almost out of the scene of Taken 1 at the airport, where they're spotting girls to traffic. And there's a spotter, and he's looking at new passengers or visitors coming in who go to the Cambio to change their money. And then he's signaling for one of the other guys, as this guy is the one here, he's got his wallet here. And then the others are all set up so they can actually tag team and be set up in the Vaporetto to do their little hustle, where one person will distract the person, another person will enter the bag or the wallet or whatever, extract that, and then hand it on to another person who's going the other way, so there's no evidence if somebody gets, caught. So they're set up doing this. So when I saw that, I thought, hang on, let's see if we can have a bit of fun. After leaving Nikki on the train, I went to the Carabinieri station and I saw the 2 detectives I saw the first time. And they remembered me and they said, Signor, how's it going? And I said, it's going well, thank you. But I've found the guys who robbed me. And they were like, how did you find them? I said, it's a long story, but suffice to say, I not only found them, I know where they are right now. They're doing their operation right out the front of your train station, just around the corner from here. And I can point them out to you, and you can have a talk to them. So one of the 2 detectives came with me. One of them, they're both casual dressed, younger guys. One guy gets his pistola out, puts it down the front of his jeans, puts his coat on. The other one comes along. So they're walking behind me, and I just said, I'll go. So I'm walking in front of them. I walk straight into the area of the train station, walk up step by step, just quietly, nonchalantly, up to the guy, the main guy, who's reading this newspaper. And I get the top of the newspaper and I pull it down. And I lean over and I go, hey, remember me? To which he looks up and he's, ah! Then all of a sudden his henchmen are popping out of nowhere, crowding around. And I said to him, remember how you asked me what I was going to do? And then I just went whack, smacked him as hard as I could, like a Will Smith, Chris Rock, smack across the face as hard as I could. Nearly made his head spin around. Then all of his friends, all 10, 12 of them, popped up, running towards me to, attack me. And he's holding his head, freaking out. Then I just stepped aside and I said, meet my friends. And the 2 Italian Carabinieri detectives popped in and took them all into custody. So I had to run back to the train station, grab Nikki and say, Nikki, we're not going to catch this train, we'll be catching the next one. So we had to go to the Carabinieri station, make a statement, identify the guys, for all the reports and everything, and then get back on the train. Later, I found out, the Carabinieri guys found out that they actually raided their pensione, and there was 14 of them apparently staying in this one little pensione. And they were all from Argentina. And in the pensione, they found currency, all these different currency, different exchange dockets, wallets, passports. So these guys had actually been having a feast in Venice on all the tourists and travelers, of which I was one. But they say, who laughs last laughs best. And I definitely got the last laugh.
In 80 Days, adventurer and award-winning filmmaker Paul G. Roberts retraces the global footsteps of Phileas Fogg, hero of Jules Verne's most famous work,